the wrong thing. God sometimes allows us to do the wrong thing. He doesn't encourage us to do the wrong thing. He doesn't say, okay, this is my blessing on it. But He sometimes allows us to do the wrong thing. God, fully knowing and fully giving us His Word, spells out how He wants us to live our life. But sometimes God just allows us to do the wrong thing. I think you've probably experienced that. God's allowed you to do the wrong thing once or twice, and maybe still allowing you to do the wrong thing sometimes. But God sometimes allows us to do the wrong thing. But you might have, what we need to learn from this is that just because God allows us to do the wrong thing, we shouldn't think that just because God does that means we have His blessing on it. Because sometimes people will assume that, wow, everything's working out great for me. God is really blessing me. This must be the right thing because God has set His approval on it by blessing everything that I'm doing right now. Well, you know what? I'll bet that's what the younger son could have said up until the point he became homeless and worked with the pigs. He could have said, man, this is fantastic. I got my inheritance early. God is really blessing this situation. I'm just having a great time in life. I'm totally happy. Everything is wonderful. He could have said all that stuff right up until the point he ran out of money, a famine came, and he was homeless and started working with pigs. And then it all turned around and said, oh, maybe this isn't so good after all. But sometimes people misinterpret what's going on in their life, and they're living the wrong way, but good things are happening, and so they assume since good things are happening that God is okay with it. And that is not true at all. God sometimes allows us to do the wrong thing, and He just lets us go. He just kind of gives us the desires of our heart, and the desires of our heart are sin, and He just kind of lets us go with it. And there's two reasons, at least two reasons I think God allows us to do this sometimes. The first reason is, and we see clearly from the younger son in the story, that sometimes He lets us do the wrong thing because He's just leading us to see the consequences of sin firsthand because He knows we are too stubborn to learn any other way. Sometimes God allows us to go the wrong way because preaching is not going to get it through to us. Because reading it straight out of the Bible doesn't get it through to us. But He allows us to go the wrong way and allows the consequences of going the wrong way just to slap us in the face to say, oh, that was right after all. I should have listened. What was I thinking? But our hearts are too stubborn in the meantime because I'm sure the younger son in this story, he knew it was wrong to leave his father, to undermine his father's authority, and to leave and to disrespect his father that way. He knew that was wrong, and I'm sure other people told him it was wrong, but it just wasn't sinking in. So the father allowed him to do the wrong thing so that the consequences of doing the wrong thing would just weigh his life down to the point of despair and heartache and hurt. And then and only then would he really see what's going on, that he should have listened to the father all along. What was he thinking? Of course, that's what he says in verse 17. And when he came to himself, when he realized, he didn't start thinking clearly about the truth of how great the Father was until he had sunk to the bottom. And the Father allowed that to happen so that in the long run he could be in a better place, so he could see the truth. And that's exactly what happens. We can't really see, sometimes we can't see the truth of how great God is until...
Sing a song to you, my King, Alpha, Omega, peace and joy, what you bring, Jehovah.